Ronald Koeman, the man nicknamed Tintin, is best remembered by Kool-Aids the world over for his thunderous extra-time winner in the 1992 European Cup final, winning Barcelona their first of what would be 5 Champions League titles. His 88 Barça goals and 4 straight La Liga titles as a leading protagonist on Johan Cruyff's dream team are enough to make the Dutchman a Barça legend. Add to that list the 1988 European Championship with the Netherlands and more than 200 goals between club and country, and you have one of the greatest defenders to ever play the game. But Barcelona won't be hiring Koeman the player. While being a former legend does bring it with some cachet, ask Pep Guardiola, Zinedine Zidane, and Kenny Dalglish, it doesn't mean success. Ask Gary Neville or Tony Adams. But unlike Thierry Henry, Frank Lampard, and new Juventus manager Andre Pirlo, Ronald Koeman is arriving at Barcelona as a very well-known commodity as a manager. In fact, his managerial career is now officially longer than his professional playing career. The now 57-year-old didn't waste much time going into coaching after his playing days. Just months after retiring, he joined the Netherlands staff as an assistant for the 1998 World Cup. Then it was a year at Barça before he got his first head coaching job for Vitesse. Koeman led Vitesse to a 4th-place finish in the Eredivisie and the UEFA Cup in his maiden campaign, before the club was sent into a spiral behind the scenes due to a fraud and tax evasion scandal. Koeman still managed a 6th-place spot in the table before getting the call from Ajax and leaving in December. He took over in Amsterdam on December 3, 2001, and held the job for a little more than 3 years. His first big coaching job wasn't too big for Koeman, who opted to sit a youthful but still haughty Zlatan Ibrahimovic. The two clashed on the Swede's attitude, and choosing to sit the mercurial star was his first difficult decision as a coach. His first full season in charge of Ajax, the 2001-02 season, led to the Eredivisie title, as well as the KNVB Cup and the Johan Cruyff Shield or Dutch Super Cup if you prefer. While at the Ajax helm, he averaged 2.07 points per match, which would turn out to be the highest mark of his coaching career. Clashes with Louis van Gaal, who came on as technical director in 2004, mired the end of that era. Van Gaal was gone first, but Koeman followed after he lost the locker room and the faith of the board. Then it was on to Benfica for a year, but the league and any European success eluded him, finishing 3rd and settling for the Portuguese Super Cup. So in 2006, he returned to the Netherlands, this time to PSV. It should be noted that up to this point in his managerial career, he largely relied on a 4-3-3, but the results on the field always seemed to reflect issues going on off it. If the team had bought in, Koeman's system worked. If there were problems in the locker room, his 4-3-3 lacked the unity and desire needed to put his ideas into practice. At PSV, there was buy-in on his arrival, and the team led by 11 points more than halfway through the season. But then things went sour, and the squad needed a 5-1 win against Vitesse on the final match day of the 06-07 season to come away with the title. Less than a year and a half in charge of PSV, and Koeman was off to Valencia for his first crack at Spanish football, a place where you would have thought his 4-3-3 would have thrived. He was taking over Valencia's side that was still living in the shadow of the back-to-back runners-up finishes in the Champions League at the turn of the millennium. He took over for Quique Sanchez Flores, who was Diego Simeone's predecessor at Atletico Madrid. But unlike Simeone, the man who followed Flores didn't cover himself with glory. Remember when we said that his highest points per match came at Ajax with 2.07? Well, his worst came in his time from November 2007 to April 2008 in charge of Valencia, just 1.24 points per match. He did win the Copa del Rey, but that was all there was to celebrate. Again armed with a 4-3-3 and not being afraid to be at odds with certain players, most notably Santiago Canizares, David Albelda, and Miguel Angel Angulo, Koeman had the worst stretch of his managerial career. He took over a team that was 4th in the table, lost 12 of 22 games, were 2 points above a relegation spot, and Tintin was out. Things didn't get much better at AZ Alkmaar, maybe somehow worse actually. The Dutch club went bankrupt while the players were not very responsive to Koeman's methods. Losing 7 of the first 16 games in the Eredivisie was a good recipe to get dismissed. I said this was a roller coaster, didn't I? Fortunately, we're heading back up again as another Dutch giant billed for his services, this time Feyenoord. From 2011 to 2014, Koeman led a side in desperate need of a change in fortunes, and he delivered that. After a decade as a head coach, he started to get a bit more flexible, opting for a 5-3-2 that worked to good effect. From just avoiding relegation before his arrival, to a 2nd-place finish and grooming a number of academy prospects into first-team regulars. When he left in 2014 for Southampton and his first shot at the Premier League, this time it was mostly for a new challenge and not because he got his marching orders. Southampton prior to his arrival were a decent side under Mauricio Pochettino, odd to hear his name in this one, isn't it? But there were fears that the side had lost too many players to transfers to repeat any Premier League success. Yet, they got off on the right foot, and Koeman was again willing to be flexible, playing a 4-2-3-1 at times, a 4-4-2, and a 4-5-1, depending on the opponent. The team finished 7th in 2015, a notable accomplishment. That success led him to the Everton job in 2016, where a roller coaster made its descent once more. His first season in charge had a few good results and a top 7 finish, meaning qualification to the Europa League. But after a huge amount of money was spent in the summer of 2017, fans at Goodison Park thought they were going to challenge for a Champions League spot. Instead, just 2 months into the season, Koeman was out and Everton were in the relegation zone. Yikes. Thankfully, our roller coaster now finds itself back at a high after the launch track, lift hill, and a few wild helixes. The Netherlands job seemed too big a job for Koeman after his failures at Everton, but in February of 2018, the Dutch national team had to take what they could get, having missed out on the 2018 World Cup. Since that time, the team qualified for the now rescheduled 2020 European Championship and were runners-up in the first edition of the UEFA Nations League, a run that included a 3-0 win over Germany, a 2-0 win over France, and a 2-2 comeback draw against Germany that won the Dutch the group. Koeman's greatest asset in charge of the Netherlands has been his ability to be flexible over the course of a game and change things up. Particularly in that 2-2 draw against Germany, his initial game plan wasn't working, and he couldn't seem to break through the Germans mid-block. But substitutions and tweaking positioning changed the match in the dying moments. Over the course of 20 years as a head coach, there are plenty of moments that can be handpicked to prove that Koeman may be up to the Barça job, and plenty of moments to say otherwise. One thing is for certain, most of his jobs don't last very long, for better or worse, so he's no stranger to not being in charge for the whole project. Next summer, when a new board is firmly in place, it may be time for a new manager who is judged on his ideals, philosophies, and a desire to lead a new era for the club. Yet, with the disarray surrounding the club at the moment, here I am talking myself into Koeman as some stability that may not turn out to be a dumpster fire. Though certainly not the most important thing, though maybe it was for Setien. He does have respect from being a legendary player. Check. Experience as a manager? Check. Flexibility on the sideline? Most recently, check. This next one is probably an important one. Fearlessness in not catering to the egos of players. And that one goes all the way back to the Zlatan at Ajax days. Check. People are already calling Ronald Koeman Bartomeu's puppet, but due to the chaos of the club at the moment and other candidates, FC Barcelona could do much worse than Ronald Koeman. I can't say he'll succeed. His track record has proven that he could fly high, or this could be an unmitigated disaster. Usually not the thing you want to say with a new manager. But Kool-Aid should try their best to support him, even if they don't feel so great about some other figures of the club right now. There is a lot that we'll be covering on this week's podcast with Frances and I, and oh yeah, there is also a transfer window to pay attention to. So make sure to give this video a like, subscribe for more content, and hit that bell for notifications. And as always, until next time, Forza Barça.